All right, joining me via Zoom. Very, very, very happy to have this gentleman back. He was on with me all the way back in April. Really fun conversation. A lot of people enjoyed it. Head coach, University of Tennessee, Rick Barnes. Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, Aaron. Just getting closer and closer to that start date, and we just hope we can get it all together, and we hope all things go good.
I was thinking about our first interview that we did back in April. And, the one thing that really a lot of things stood out. It was a really fun conversation. But one of the things that stood out, you talked back then, and that was obviously a different time in the world, but about the reality of not having your kids in the gym, not being able to just be around them, not even basketball-wise. A lot's changed since then. I know the kids have been back hopefully for at least a few months now. How nice is it just to be able to drive to the office every day, to be able to spend time with your guys? And then we're obviously deep into practice now, but it must be nice considering where we were back in March and April.
Aaron, it is better. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's normal because it's not normal, but it's as close to normal as I think we can be right now. Like when you walk in our gym, basically for 5 months, our locker room was on the side of the court. We have the chairs spaced out accordingly to code, and each guy had a basket behind him, and they had a shower right off our practice court where they could shower. But
Wow.
We've done all that, and we didn't actually go back into our locker room, and we've totally had to redesign what we had in there. The lounge area is now gone because the one thing that I think came from what we've learned early with football and the COVID in general is when it can be, shared would be when people are lounging around together. So we took out the lounge and we put in a table where everybody does have their space. Because we've always eaten in our locker room after practice and those type things. And one thing the guys wanted back they really wanted to go back in the locker room. They really enjoy our locker room here, and we enjoy being there. There's a lot of team bonding that goes on there, and with everything that we have, but so that's different. But overall, it's so much better. But you know what? We still haven't had our whole team together yet, not one day. And we hope, and that's not just because of the COVID. That's with some injuries and those type things, and us choosing to set some guys out to let them get healthy. But we are looking forward to the day that we can get them all out there.
That's what I was going to say from your perspective as a coach. I mean, coaches always talk about we're a family, all that stuff. Has it hurt the ability to build bonds with the new guys, for the new guys to build bonds with the new guys? Or is, it's something that obviously, look, everybody is adjusting to, players, coaches across the country. How has it affected the little things like being able to get together, all that kind of stuff?
That's a great question. I like to think that it hasn't, but we're not. The locker room was a big thing for us. Being together like that and being in there was a fun time. We haven't had that. We haven't been able to do it. Now we still, most of that kind of fun takes place on the court. Obviously,
Sure.
Because that's where we're not going to hang out in the locker room and do those type things. But I think in terms of the team still bonding, I feel good about our team with that. Do I think it could be better if we were in the locker room? I like to think so. I still think that our freshmen haven't gotten the full effect of being a true freshman. They haven't been able to reap the benefits of what we talked about. I think we talked about it spring, the summer, the fall. All those type workouts. And I feel we're a little bit behind with them in some areas. But in terms of the chemistry with our team, we've got a great group of guys, and our seniors and our older guys have been around, have done a good job with our young guys, and our young guys are still learning, but they're learning some things right now that I'm telling you they would have already known 2-3 months ago if we'd have had a full summer.
That's what I was going to ask. Obviously, look, college basketball is kind of a sport where there's a lot of roster turnover. You not only have veterans, but, you have veterans who have won at a really high level, SEC championship, Sweet 16s. How important, I know Yves Pons was right up till the NBA draft deadline, John Fulkerson, all that, but how important is it just to have those guys, not only from their talent, but from actually just being able to say, hey, this is how we do things. This is when we get here. If practice starts at 4, we're here at 3 o'clock to get taped and all that. I mean, how important is all that kind of stuff?
It's really important. It is. You know, when you have guys like that, they're the ones that kind of carry the torch for you, and that's what you want. The best teams are when they're the ones that are the standard barriers, to where they're the ones, like you said, hey, when we say 3, that means 10 till 3, or we say be ready to go, it means not walking in, just lagging around and doing whatever. You're ready to go. But they do it differently, though, Aaron. You know, like John and Eve by nature are just great kids, and they're not the kind of person that's going to want to get on guys with a verbal kind of assault, anything like that. They're going to do it. They're going to do it with the way they go about their business every day. Days off, those guys are in the gym working. They practice. I mean, some guys do what they can to get out of practice. These guys, it kills them if they can't practice. I mean, I'm talking when we're in a day where we're getting high reps in, you can't get those guys off the court. And unless we, as a coach, tell them, like a guy on the side will say, hey, let me sub in, they'll say no. And the older guys see that. And I've always believed this, that older guys can take all you want to give them. They don't need it. But younger guys need everything you can give them, but they can't take it yet. And that's where we're a little bit behind with the freshmen, because they need a little bit more. And so we actually are really trying to encourage, and honestly, having our older guys sit out a little bit more than normal to give these younger guys more reps, because they need it right now more than the older guys.
How have the young guys looked? I mean, obviously there's so much buzz about this recruiting class, and I remember talking to you in the spring, and you loved what you saw from them. Obviously at the high school level, it's a different deal, but from the competitiveness, the willingness to defend, play both ends of the court, what have you seen from the freshmen so far?
You know, good. It's been good. You know, Keon and Jaden's definitely have that competitive fire where they want to compete. Now, are they learning a lot? They're learning a lot. Have they struggled? They've struggled, because it's as you said, it's a little bit different from going from high school to college. And as we all know, it's a big difference going from college to the big leagues. But they have struggled. But the great thing about those two in particular is that they do really want to be coached. You know, they want to be good. They are, and they realize they've got a lot to learn. Whereas, you know, Corey is a player that Corey Walker's got to understand the physical demands of taking care of his body and getting himself in the kind of shape that he needs to be in. Those other two guys had to deal with that too, but Corey's going to have to, you know, for instance, lose some weight and get his motor going a little bit more. But that's normal. I mean, all freshmen are different. They really are. And so we talk to them all the time about what they need to do individually to get where they need to go. And like I said, they're all receptive to that.
Well, I remember talking to you last time, and, you know, you had to steal a shipment of popcorn from Grant Williams to set the tone with him. So, you know, listen, it's not like this hasn't happened even to the guys that made it to the pros, you know?
You know, Aaron, what happens when you recruit someone and, you know, you really do as much work. And I've said to you that, you know, my assistant coaches are the best in understanding what we want in our program and how they go about recruiting. But the other thing, you don't really know everything until you get to be with a person every single day. And what we do know is that we have great people, great character people. But then you start every day when you're with someone, you see all the little things that you need to work on with them to help them be what they want to be. And again, and every player is different. And like Grant Williams was a guy that you mentioned that had to lose weight. You know, that's a position right now that Corey Walker's in. You got to do that. Keon, you know, and Jaden are learning how to really be part of an offense, you know, but defensively, those guys, like I said, they want to guard. They take great pride in it, which I think does put them ahead of most freshmen, because most freshmen don't have that part of it. But these guys do they take great pride in the fact they want to be able to guard the ball. Now, they are learning how to play team defense, one-on-one on the ball. They're going to do their job, but now being part of the team, learning how to do the tags on a pick and roll situation, those type things are things that it's all new to them.
When you say learn how to be part of an offense, is that just, you know, obvious, not I don't know how these guys were coached before they got to you, but obviously a lot of one-on-one. I assume they've always been the best player wherever they are. Is that what you mean when you say learn how to be a part of an offense?
And learn the system, learn our system, what we're doing. And, you know, we want our guys to be aggressive and But again, and they both come out of programs where they were well coached, you know. And,
Sure.
but the fact is, what worked maybe in high school is not working in some cities. Those gaps close up a little quicker, and for instance, shots being contested.
Sure.
You know, that as you higher up the level, you know, shots are contested at a very high level. You know, nothing easy. You know, where guys are competing too. And it's every day, and you know, there's a confrontation at the rim maybe now more so than in the past. So it's just the adjustment from high school to college.
Do you think, you know, and I think about your career, you've coached so many great players coming out of high school, even before Tennessee, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Durant, Corey Joseph, all those guys. And the one thing that I've learned covering it, we all, myself included, we spend so much time talking about the freshmen, but for every Zion Williamson or Kevin Durant, there's a lot of guys that are really, really, really good in high school, hyped in high school, that maybe don't realize how big of a jump it is to college, right? Everyone sees Zion, ACC Player of the Year, not even with these guys specifically, but would you say that's a fair assessment, that as good as so many of these guys across the country, not just at Tennessee, not just in the SEC are, a lot of guys just don't realize how big the jump actually is to college basketball?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. To say, for instance, if Zion Williamson would have played against John Fulkerson, who he's probably never heard of, he would find out, hey, this guy can go, you know? And so I do think that's true. And, you know, there's people being, you know, just, I don't know if the word's naive, but the fact is understanding that there's a lot of guys that can play, you know, and it doesn't matter if they're a McDonald's All-America or not. But you go back and you look at guys like, say, Zion Williams comes in, and you know, he's physically just unbelievable physical player, you know, Player of the Year. Then you take a guy like Kevin Durant, who was very skinny, but had a skill level that was unmatched by anybody that I've ever coached. And there's something about those guys, you know, they're like Kevin told me one time, he said, I know that I have great God-given ability, and I want you to coach me as hard as you can coach me, because I don't want to have any regrets. And then when you get a guy with that kind of attitude, that's the making of a superstar. And I do think the word pro is thrown around way too much at a young level. This kid's going to be a pro. This guy's going to be a pro. If everybody that's been told at some point in time they're going to be a pro, we'd have to have 60, 70, 80 more teams, you know, and potential is a word that, you know, as a coach, you've got to look at that and think what that is. But the fact of the matter is there's only 450 NBA players. Now, there are pros overseas, because if you're getting paid, you're technically a pro, right? But to play in the NBA, 450, and you are competing against the world. It's not just the USA now. You're going against the world. And so I don't think players understand really, when they're talking about the highest level, what it takes to really get there.
Yeah, no, and it's something, you know, and I understand being in the media why things like mock drafts are done and all that, but it's like, even I look at some of them and I'm like, you know, is that kid really a first round, you know, and you know, especially now before they've played in college, all that stuff. Anyway, neither here nor there. You know, I want to talk about the outside. By the way, I didn't even ask you, just as a team in general, I know you said you're a little bit behind, but you do have a lot of talent. I mean, where are we at as a team? I know you said you're a little bit behind as a group, but I'm guessing all the pieces are there to hopefully eventually get there as you get more practice under your belt.
But probably scrimmaging, getting full live scrimmaging, because of where we're like normally right now, Aaron, we'd be getting ready.
It's Halloween
probably this weekend to scrimmage Davidson College, who we have scrimmaged every year for 15, 17 years. You know, we've always scrimmaged Coach McKillop and his team, and we need that right now. You know, we need it. So we need to be able to get more games like that. And inter-squad scrimmage is good, and we need to get some of that, which we haven't to this point, because, again, the number situation and everybody understanding what we're doing, but we're getting close to that. And I think over the next couple of weeks we'll get – obviously we got, you know, a little bit under a month to get ready, but we'll get there. But that's probably where we're lagging behind just a little bit.
Do you ever have to, there's a lot of buzz, including from guys like me. I mean, I was saying it back in February before even last season ended. You win at Rupp Arena, you're right there at Auburn, probably should have won that game. And I'm sitting there saying, man, they could return everybody and have this great recruiting class. But do you ever have to temper the expectations from the guys of, look, you guys are working hard, all that stuff, but don't buy the hype because we haven't accomplished anything yet? Because I look at you guys and I say, I might have been the one that started the hype train, and if so, I apologize, Coach. But, there's still a lot of work to be done, and it's a team that as this particular group, that they're not as accomplished as – I don't know. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah. Well, what I think, I don't – again, I think it's great for our program, but then what you said, I think is great, and I think people should be excited. I want our people to be excited here, but I can tell you based on the way we go about our work every single day, I think these guys would tell you that, yeah, we got a lot of work to do because we're a very transparent, truth-telling program where every day, we watch film as a staff. Our coaches break it down. We break it down. We continue to watch film individually with our players, things like that, where we're not going to let them live a lie. They're going to see where we got to get better. And just within ourselves, I mean, there's areas right now, we think we can be a good defensive team, but we're not there yet, and so when you keep showing them, and the fact is we've got a group of guys that I think they do want to be good. And I do know that they haven't the older guys know how tough it is to be good. The younger guys, probably not so much, but I do think that once we get closer to game time, the older guys will again say, hey, we don't take anything for granted because we know on any given night, if you're not ready to play, you're going to get beat.
Have you ever been this close to a season where you're not totally sure when you're starting or who you're playing or anything like that?
Never. I mean,
I didn't think so.
I mean, we normally know by, August, September, right? Our schedule and all this. And, Aaron, we're getting close, to be quite honest with you. Before we started recording, we were talking about, the bubble blowing up. And so we had to scramble around and get some things in place. And we've got it pretty much done, I think. But the thing, too, that is going to be a big story, I'm telling you, in college basketball this year is going to be refereeing because they are in a really tough situation. I mean, the thing that happens if 3 different referees are doing a game the night before and they come into a site and they get the call right before the game that somebody in the game last night, a player that, we could start games this year with 2 officials. And the problem then, now we're talking about it. I'm part of the rules committee, and we're talking about what happens if one of those officials get hurt, because the rule says you cannot end the game with 1 official. And so there's so much. And so, I mean, we could sit here, you and I could come up with all kinds of scenarios about, if it's a 20-point game with a minute to play, yeah, you could finish that game. But what happens if that official would get hurt at the start of the second half and there's 20 minutes to play with 1 official? You can't play the game, and nobody wants to come back and restart the next day, especially if you've got to play 2 days after this game. And so that's going to be an ongoing story this year is how we can get through this with officials. And it's something that's being talked about really a lot because we're all concerned about it.
That's something I hadn't even thought about. And I think if there's anything the last 3 or 4 months have taught us about all our sports, there's so many variables that you hadn't even considered. So last couple questions. I know you got to actually run here. I just want to ask you about the state of the SEC in general. I mean, it feels like, you got there, you guys win the SEC a couple years ago, but the recruiting, the coaching, the guys that have come in, including yourself, I was just curious because I look at this league and I see so much talent across the board, and just kind of curious as to your thoughts of, we might be essentially league only. I mean, you hope you get your 6-7 out of conference games, but what your fate, for lack of a better term, might essentially be judged by how you do in this league, and this league is maybe tougher than it's ever been.
Well, one, you're right about our league. Our league as a whole plays extremely hard. As you said, really terrific coaches in the league, and we've got tremendous players. I mean, not only now are they athletic, and when you're athletic and you're skilled and you play hard, it becomes a lot of physicality in the league, and our league's like that. And I think, too, you've got coaches in the league that believe in that style of basketball which also I think it makes it a tough league for referees to work in because of the kind of style that we play. Some leagues are more of a finesse league, but our league's terrific. It really is. And, I will tell you this, that I don't think there's been a better commissioner in all of college athletics than Greg Sankey. And then Dan Liebervich has done an incredible job from the basketball side with coaches keeping us informed and helping us get through this. I mean, Aaron, if you knew what we were having to do with inside the arena, how we're going to have to change things in there this year, move the benches around from one side, in our place, from one side to the other to be where we're making sure we're doing everything that's required for us to do. There's just so much going on, and the SEC has led that charge for all of us. We're lucky to have the leadership that we have there.
Very good. Last question, I'll let you go. Is there anything that we've missed that you would want a Tennessee fan to know, whether it is the in-game experience, if you allow fans, whether it is a player that stood out? I mean, anything that we haven't hit on? I know you're short on time here. You got to get yourself to the facility, but anything that we haven't talked about?
All I would say, we're hoping that the fans, what I'm hoping, I'm like you, I'm optimistic. I hope that as time goes on, maybe we can get to a point where we can let more people come into games. But to start with, those that come, the ones that can come, I know they're going to be loyal Vol fans. And my only regret is that, we've got Kansas coming in our challenge this year. I wish they would be able to feel the full effect of Thompson-Boling Arena, because it really is one of the great arenas in the country. But, hey, again, whatever's out there, we're going to have to adjust with everybody else and just hope that we can have a great year and for all of us in college basketball.
Rick Barnes, the head coach of the Tennessee Vols. Coach, you got to run, man. I so appreciate you finding some time. Best of luck this season. Hopefully we'll talk. Hopefully there'll be packed houses. Next time we touch base, 100% capacity. I don't know. We'll see. Positive vibes only. Trying to stay positive over here. So.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.